What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Raven, and Joe's with me. What's up, Joe?
I'm on time even.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm late. I'm
Yeah,
just late. That's it.
yeah, but
I way overslept.
as I've said before, I even though I have become a de facto co-host, I still think of myself as a guest. If I piss off the Raven and he's like, "Joe, get the fuck out of here," I'm like, "Okay, I understand. It's your show, so
Yeah,
if you want to be late, we're on your schedule."
yeah. I'm a little late, but for good reason. So I really needed the sleep. So it's just one of those things.
Oh, I was just thinking that like sleep is either a gift or is some kind of cruel joke from the powers that be. Because every time I have gamer stuff I want to talk about, like I'm going to put something on blast, I'm going to be so serious. I got stuff for the show. I then get a good night's sleep before the show, and it's like, what was I going to talk about? It must not have been that important. Everything's kind of great this morning.
Well, I actually, like everything's been great this morning. That
Yeah,
much is true.
yeah.
But man, look, there have been some really like life's gotten fucking weird in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost of all people, Bray fucking Wyatt, the professional wrestler who died at 36. Apparently, according to the story that's out there,
I mean, is that Funk? Or because we
uh,
also lost Funk.
we lost Funk before him. Yeah, we lost
And,
Terry Funk. Now Terry Funk was in his 70s
yeah.
or something like that. The guy that that one does not surprise me, but it still sucks.
I mean, I'm gonna add to the pile. We lost Arlene Sorkin.
Yeah, yeah, we lost the original. In fact, in my opinion, the best Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know she voiced Harley Quinn until like the past couple of years. I really didn't. Like that blew my mind. I knew Mark Hamill did the Joker probably about 5 years ago. Like when I watched the series, I didn't care. They were all great voice actors.
Right.
I knew Kevin Conroy because, and this is a funny story about him. I was actually watching Cheers one night, and it was a rerun, and um, I heard a voice in there, and I went, "The fuck is that Batman?" I look,
Bruce,
and it's a
Bruce Wayne goes to Cheers.
yeah. It was Kevin Conroy, a very young Kevin Conroy, talking with Rio Perlman, and I was like, "I'll be damned, that's Batman." And I think my dad was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "That's the guy who does Bruce Wayne and Batman and Batman the Animated Series." He's like, "Really?" Yeah, that's
Well,
him.
I like to joke. I like to say I'm an old man.
Mm,
Okay. But it's not actually about being an old man. It's actually about the television experience we had that is now foreign to the streaming generation,
yeah,
right? Because when I was 15, my dad owned a small janitorial company, and I used to go work for him in the summer, and I earned good money, like $50 a month for 3 months, right?
yeah,
We're talking kid money. That's good money. Uh, so I would go to bars at 15. And because I wasn't drinking it because they were closed, it was legal. And what I was doing is I was cleaning, right? Hard
right,
labor. But my dad would put on Nick at Night, which was old TV then, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I've seen first person Taxi, right? And I've
Hmm.
seen Christopher Lloyd's first role as as one of those guys opposite Danny DeVito, right?
And Tony Danza.
And Tony Danza. I can't remember the exact character, and I feel really bad that I can't remember the character's name. It's stupid. But the point is that now people like watch Rick and Morty, which is a spoof on Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox, right?
Yeah,
And and they do get excited when it's like, oh wow, Christopher Lloyd was Rick in an ad, and it's like, yeah, but how much Christopher Lloyd do you know? And they're like, what do you mean, old man? It's like, did you know Christopher Lloyd was a Klingon? Well, no. Did you know
yep.
Christopher Lloyd was the mayor for an episode or two of Spin City opposite Michael J. Fox? What's Spin City? Yeah. right?
Yeah, I never watched Spin City, but
Oh, it's incredibly generic and bad, but it's
yeah,
also like a snapshot of late, like mid '90s, pre 9/11, uh, post politically correct. Everybody's okay with gay, but not radical crazy television.
yeah.
So it's like an artifact. I'm like an archaeologist when I pull it out of my collection.
Well, the so we ended up losing Funk, Wyndham
Yeah,
Rotunda, Bray Wyatt.
yeah.
We lost them. We lost Arlene Sorkin, which I didn't even know she was that old, to be honest with you. And I distinctly remember her from America's Funniest People, that she co-hosted with Dave Coulier, and continuously, I don't know whether it was scripted or not, but kept messing up. Like, she would say something, not really mean it, and then start apologizing before the camera cut to commercial or something like that. I do distinctly
Well,
remember
I
that.
danced on the statement. Was she saying something dirty?
No, she was saying, we'll be. She was trying to use go from seconds to sex, as in
Right,
multiple seconds, but shorten it.
right.
And she said, we'll be back after a few seconds. Oh, did I say sex? Oh my god! Oh my god! No! Wait! And cuts the commercial, and I'm like, how's she still working? Because there gotta be people pissed off about that. But anyway, it like I didn't know she was the voice of Harley. Um, until the last couple of years, and I was like, "Oh my god, that was her! Oh wow, that's crazy!" And I mean, there were people who knew way before I did, and I'm like, "Okay, more power to you. That's cool." But we lost those three. My God, who we lost Tony Bennett, I think, a while back. That's unfortunate. I just found out today we lost Jimmy Buffett.
Oh no.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the guy, but I've been around some of his fans, and they really tried to, like, get me introduced to the music, and they did well. They meant well. It just really wasn't quite my thing at the time, but I had an appreciation for it, and we listened to a lot of it that day, and
I,
drank a lot of beer.
I do have to bring up something absolutely wild that I just
Yeah,
found out by accident.
what's up?
Well, I wanted to verify whether or not it was Sorkin who appeared in a small bit of Sin City. It's not. Okay? But I just found out, and I did not know this. I didn't know this when I brought him up. Arlene Sorkin married Christopher Lloyd,
I
and
didn't
they
know
had
that.
2 kids.
Oh wow, how long were
She,
they together?
she married him in '95. They never separated. Yeah,
Oh wow, holy
yeah,
shit! Yo, Doc Brown was married to Harley Quinn.
right.
Okay, I totally did not see
That,
that coming.
that is amazing. Every so often, people will talk about this idea of Hollywood royalty, and we don't have Hollywood royalty like we did back in the 20s.
No, we don't.
You know, but nobody really knows what does that look like. Everyone assumes it's like Leo and shit. Like it's gonna be Brad Pitt. No. Christopher Lloyd, married to Arlene Sorkin, friends with Michael J. Fox. That's Hollywood royalty. Those kids can do anything. Their meal ticket is made. Even if they don't go for acting, they could be like producers and shit, because Christopher Lloyd was a producer on Frasier, right? Which means
Well,
that the family is also friends.
that's assuming Hollywood survives.
Sure, but that means the family is also friends with Danny DeVito, who's married to a significantly well-known actress, who's gorgeous, by the way. And they're the parents of, I keep wanting to say Elisa Gray, but that's not it. And then because of the Frasier tie, they're connected to oh crap, I'm feeling so stupid. All my best names are escaping me. Kelsey Grammer, right? Who also is connected to a bunch of people. That's like the bedrock of TV and film right there. If it lives. if Hollywood survives,
Which, if they don't stop making dumb decisions, they probably won't.
let somebody cue a clip of Dio's The Last in Line that we can't play on YouTube.
Yeah, you'll have to do that yourself, guys. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't see that coming either. Yeah, we're all finding a lot of stuff we didn't know about. But here's something that I wanted to bring up, and before I forget, because I know me, I will forget if I don't do it like right now. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That right there. Strike may not survive AI. But Ernie Gygax is currently still in the hospital. Apparently, he's not out of the woods yet. There was as I understand it, he was found unresponsive in his home. He was rushed to the hospital. There were surgeries that took place. Apparently, he was okay for a little while. Then there was fluid buildup, so he had to be taken back to the cardiac ward, and they're currently looking after him. And he needs our prayers, our good energy, whatever it is you're sending to him. I, of course, got the candle on the altar lit for the guy. I'll have some incense going. That reminds me, after the show, I need to run and go pick up some more because I'm completely out. So, yeah, that's what's currently going on with him, and I definitely wish him and his family all the best right now. Hopefully he pulls through. Hopefully he pulls through in fine style. Let's see. They moved him several times. He's definitely not out of the woods yet. Yeah, that's what I keep hearing. And I'd like to thank our friend with the French accent, also a fellow YouTuber, for keeping us up to date. He's been keeping his finger on the pulse of this situation. And speaking of the Gygax brothers, Luke is currently working on some stuff for Swords and Wizardry and his own thing. So very cool stuff there. Hopefully Ernie Jr. pulls out and things get better for him. We'd love to see him back at the tables and back behind the keyboard writing some more stuff because, hey, and one other thing. Speaking of Gygax and the legacy, the Troll Lords announced that in, what was it? Let me go down here because it's such good news. I know I kept that email too. Where'd you go? There it goes. In case you missed it, last week we were very happy to announce the estates of Gary Gygax opened the doors for Troll Lord Games to pick up and continue where we left off when our good friend crossed the bar so many years ago. We immediately launched a pre-order for the Igsburg campaign setting. You can still reserve your copy by clicking on that link, and we have added a PDF-only option. But we want you all to know that because of you, we hit our 120-day goal post for the estate in around 72 hours. Your support has been nothing but breathtaking, and for that, we would like to extend a very hearty thank you. They said they had a 90-day and a 120-day goal in under 72 hours. I think it was just over 24, like maybe a day and a half. It blew the doors off the 90-day goal, and then in 72 hours, it just wiped that 120-day goal. And that they needed that because, as I wrote on my Substack, this was needed because in order for more of these to happen, and I'll share this page here, in order for more of this to happen, they needed those goals to be met. And this is what they're talking about right here. Yeah, right here. So setting for PDF only is $24.99. The I think this is print and digital. Yeah, your pre-order comes with a book. The book, both maps, as well as PDF and digital PDFs of both maps. And that is $65. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If given the choice between this or Baldur's Gate 3, I'm going with this all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly because not just because my CNC here, but because this was the last thing that Gygax worked on. So I kept looking at people who had this and like just green with envy. So me, I'm like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, ah, and I went after it. And howdy, Cal. How are you?
Here's the thing, man. There was a conversation last night on the Gilbit. Okay.
Mm.
I want to say it was the curator, who's a younger person in our sphere.
Right.
And he was differentiating between people that are playing OSR or old school stuff or whatever you want to call it because it's not D&D, that it's a dissentive act, right? Versus those who are actively seeking old school for old school and the love of the game, right? And I understand what he means. I understand where he's coming from. There is a small difference, but we're all fans playing old school, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing of it, right? At the same time, I was talking to a friend of mine about Baldur's Gate 3, and I said, look, man, this is not the game that you want to introduce D&D to for children. This is not the family game that you should be in. He's like, well, yeah, but it's a mature-only game. I'm like, yeah, but it's a video game. You and I know that parents are just going to buy it and hand it off to their kids because it's a D&D and it's going to be kid-friendly, right? And then it's not. It's a parody of itself. It's the game where you fuck things. I'm sorry for my language, but I can't put it any more politely than that. It's that base. Okay, and it's not just the bear thing. If it was just the bear thing, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's a cute one-off. But I ran into a scene by accident where apparently you encounter a hobgoblin banging an ogre, right? You can, I kid you not, there's a scene where you can romance a mind flayer, and you are supposed to put your mouth in its mouth, the same mouth that it, like, rips brains out with. When you're infected with a mind flayer parasite, yeah, that's what I want to do if I'm a person, right? There are so many sex options in this game. I'm serious. It's a parody onto itself, right? It's not D&D, right? And worse, people are complaining that it's too hard because they've been spending the last 2 decades being infantilized with half-assed GMs who don't know how to run the game, right? So it's like, what do people want? What are people after? What do these OGL people or OSR people really want? And the answer is, we want challenge. We want to feel respected. The old school stuff does that. It never assumed you were an idiot. It never treated you like a child. Right? Sex jokes happened, but they happened organically. You made it. It wasn't given to you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, how do we know this? Where's your proof? This Gygax book that nobody's heard of, because I hadn't heard of it. You're telling me it funded, and it funded above and beyond. It funded to its expansion goal in a day and a half. Yep. People clearly want it. It's not whales. It's not 1 or 2 extremely dedicated old school psychopaths.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then there's this one, Swords and Wizardry. The top 3 books just came in. I've had the bottom one for a couple weeks or so. And I've actually been going through these. I got to say, I own like 3 different versions of this game. So I've got this box set up here, which is great. I love it to death. But if you can't get the box set, this is the one to get. And I'll tell you exactly why. And I've got the print-on-demand paperback of the white box rules from Lulu, which is also great. But this one, what I absolutely love about this, if you look right there, the Doom of Malachar, that's a solo adventure. And This one takes you through how to play it. I got to say, like, okay, I'm going to give Baldur's Gate 3 a little something. I mean, we've been talking about the sex thing. Okay, that's fine. But it is D&D 5th edition rules as written. Why? Because a computer is going to be the ultimate rules lawyer. That's what you're going to run into. Okay? This is And then AI, I hate to tell you this, AI is going to go through a hell of a lot of growing pains for a
Yeah.
very long time. A lot of what human DMs do is not going to make sense, and it's always going to revert back to rules as written. And let me tell you something. Do If you like the inspiration part of D&D 5th edition, I'm going to tell you right now, you might as well just hang that one up, because do you know how hard you're going to have to go to impress a computer that will look at you and go, okay, you succeeded,
Yeah.
but that's it?
Well, it doesn't get excited for the game like you get excited for the game, because it can't get excited for the game like you get excited for the game, which is part of the game.
Right.
Is everybody getting super jazzy about, oh my god, he's gonna do it. Oh my god, he's gonna do it.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is why I tell people, if you really want to get started into D&D, okay, OSR games like Swords and Wizardry, Basic Fantasy, Old School Essentials. It doesn't matter which one you go with. They're all D&D, all of them. They're just old rule sets taken, cleaned up, kind of presented anew. For Golden Glory, Delving Deeper, Iron Falcon. None of that matters. It's all D and fucking D. That's it. It's just the older rule sets. Those were put into place because Wizards of the Coast refused to unass the OD&D basic and expert, back me first, second edition. They refused to unass that, and then they saw, hey, our market share is getting cut in too. It's like, yeah, no shit. We told you a long time ago, maybe those of us who had problems with the newer rule sets and didn't want to stick to that, didn't want to pay exorbitant prices, these extortionary prices for like older books that they refuse to keep publishing. This is what happens. This is what you get.
Well, let me give you a really simple example of the differentiation in the stupidest way. Okay, there was a conversation on the Gilded either last night or a couple of days ago, right? And we were talking about, in the very, very broad, rules as written versus rules with interpretation.
Yeah.
Right? And, we have some people that are some diehard Raw players. They're very insistent on the Raw. Now, they're coming at it from a good place, which is that you shouldn't be inventing rules if you don't have to, if you're not conversant in the game first. Read the manual.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? But they do err on the side of like militant, which is no fun, right? But here's a perfect example. I said in the conversation that I personally don't mind. I might be persuaded to let somebody use Polearm Master with a quarterstaff, because I have personally wielded a quarterstaff before. I have practiced with one, right?
Yeah.
And somebody said, "Oh, well, you can, because you can do that with spear and with quarterstaff," right? Well, I happened to look it up. I happen to have a 5th ed manual here. Polearm Master works with weapons with reach. Quarterstaff and spear don't have reach.
Oh.
Because it's not a full-on spear for a phalanx. It's not the spear that's 2 sizes the length of a man, right? It's the short jabbing spear.
Right.
It's the melee spear. What does have reach is very few weapons, like the lance and the glaive, but somehow the trident doesn't, right? And
right.
what we actually hate in 5e, as the example, is they pasteurized the number of polearms. There are so few polearms. You go back to 1st ed and 2nd ed, polearms take up 3 pages a book. There are so many polearms because there are so many styles and intimations and what they do, right? For so many potential purposes. But the thing is that if we're gonna insist on Raw, and we're gonna agree, as is coming around, that you can play early 5e with minimal bells and whistles, and it's a good game, right? Then you're saying that Polearm Master only applies to this very narrow selection of things. And by that logic, if I say, well, no, it applies to spears, it applies to quarterstaffs because that's reasonable, that's logical. You can hold them at that end and be effective. That's an interpretation. Now, is that a violation of the holy rules? Or is that because I, the human being with a brain, say, no, those fuckers don't know what they're writing. We all know you can totally wield these things logically that way.
Well, okay, let's look at that for a second here.
Yeah, it's a good classroom example.
Anyway. Hey, Cal's birthday is tomorrow.
Sweet.
Cal, happy birthday. Raise my cup of tea to you. And Cal also says, I only have one goal for ever for a video game, picking my special genitals.
I do good. In fact own a game that a friend got me for a joke. It's called Genital Combat. Is that your favorite game there, Cal? Do you long for dicks to fight with dicks?
Jesus Christ, you guys get new meaning to crossing swords.
Oh, it's awful. You win by inserting your penis into other penises. It's hilarious.
Jesus. Okay, so let's talk about rules. Okay, let's talk about rules.
Right.
So I understand. Okay, some books are going to be kind of intimidating. Yeah, especially when you do the all-in-one. Some books are going to be kind of intimidating. I can tell you, when you're looking at a set of books, some are going to be a little off-putting. I mean, let's face it. If you pull a book like these two, for example, you pull these two books. They are not big. They're not that intimidating. You can easily get into these. There are people who won't even read this, and I'm like, come on, people. They're not that. Look, Book of Antitheses is bigger than the Rules and Magic book for Lamentations of the Flame Princess. That's just fact. But if we're going to do this whole Rule Zero or Rule of Cool kind of thing, I don't really mind that. It's just, like I have to side with the non-militant stance of try something much lighter on rules. If you could do something lighter on rules, let's say original D&D, basic D&D, and let's face it, basic D&D right now, today, if you were to go to the Wizards of the Coast website and just download the basic rules, which has pretty much everything in it, you're looking at nearly 200 pages. You know what else has 200 pages? Fucking Horde Wars Basic. And that's what I've been playtesting for months now. And I did it without a rule book. Blackwall was running everything. And he shared with us certain things on Google Documents. That's all we had to go on. And now I got the book, which, by the way, $5 on Big Ink Emporium. You can go grab it. It's super cheap. It's a PDF right now. And yes, Blackwall has stated that if you wanted to run the PDF off and print your own copy, you can do that. But that thing is nearly 200 pages. That's a pretty generous 200 pages, and it's all in one. If you didn't want so many pages, I have recommended the shit out of Crimson Dragonslayer D20 because it was 17. It's a whopping 17 pages of rules. Now there's this, and I'm about to show it. I'm putting it right up here on screen. Here you go. Advanced Crimson Dragonslayer. And guess what? It's only 2 more pages. It's only 2 more pages than the newer D20. And it's still simple.
Here's what I think the problem is, and I think it's important that we be reasonable, okay? Because I think that's where we run into problems. Is that some of the OSR guys, they're not jerks,
no,
but
they're not.
But they can get very militant about their belief system.
And right? Here's the thing: I understand the militancy in some aspects. I mean, let's face it. Right? Show of hands. Whether you're watching live or on the replay later. Show of hands. How many of us went to the wall for Troll Lord Games when that shitstorm broke out? Right here. I know I did.
Any of us that were old enough to remember the Satanic Panic, know what it's like to be under attack, and your reaction is, well, fuck you, I'm gonna get my bricks and chains. You get very reactionary and very militant very quickly.
Yep.
But here's the thing. And I'm not calling out shonen. I want to be clear. I'm not a weeb, but I watch a lot of anime with weebs. Okay? It's true. You got people
to this day, Golden Boy Wandering Student is still one of my favorites. That is just great comedy.
Right. But a lot of people they watch things like Dragon Ball Z, which is a classic, or Naruto, and they're like, okay, I want to replicate that in my D&D experience. And D&D is not built for that, right? The fact that there's a how-to anime in D&D 5e book drives me up the wall. But that's their table, their rules, whatever, right? The thing is that when the OSR crowd get on that and they're angry about it, it's like, yeah, no, that's stupid. They're being dumb, 100%, right? But
right.
And using rule of cool to say, well, we just do whatever is dumb. But at the same time, rule of cool is older than Matt Mercer. It's older than D&D 3. It's older than D&D. Okay? Because back in the day, back when I was a little carpet grub, I know the argument was had. Hey man, I like movies with Gregory Peck and the like. I want to cut this rope, swing on this chandelier as it falls down, hit a guy, and fly out the window. Right?
Yeah.
And the DM is like, well, I'll let you try. You didn't say you were going to do it. But I said, I'll let you try. And you have to figure out how many rolls and what structure. And if you screw up at any one of those rolls, the entire thing falls apart and you land hard on that big table in the middle of that room full of dudes with swords.
And it doesn't break away like it does in the WWE.
Yeah, no, you are caught. Your ass is going to the prison cell, perhaps to be executed.
Don't worry, the table broke your fall.
Yeah, and you know what? You broke on the table. Good job. Take your hit point damage.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
it's gonna hurt.
The reason I say we have to be reasonable is because in our zealotry to protect the game, to preserve this mythical idea of perfect game, we have to be reasonable. That's like, yeah, no, we were doing the exact same thing. We've always done the exact same thing. Don't deny we did the exact same thing. But the rules, the holy rules don't cover everything. Never did. Never have. And have always had window for people to be creative and explain shit on their own.
And to my knowledge, now, Blackwall, if you're watching, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. But we have been playing this rules as written for quite a while. It has been absolutely fun. There have been times where, we get a little stuff. By the way, John the Basic Expert did this artwork, which is absolutely fantabulous in my opinion.
Oh, I love it. Classic skeletons being threatening.
Yeah, you got like a Templar-esque knight here with that helmet, man. It's historically accurate, though. I'm going to give him that. Up against these skeletons, one of which is wearing a sort of like a rattan armor, and probably going to get his ass kicked just as badly.
I made a player sweat yesterday. It was great.
But we've been playing this rules as written, and we've had a ton of fun with it. We have had some moments where we've done some things that were a little out of the. I think as players, the reason we play test is we're trying to break the game to see where the cracks are. And some of us, like myself, I'll just be honest with you. Am I trying to break the game? No, I want to play. I just want to see how much fun it is. And on its own, this game is a lot of fun. It's like I said, it's about 194 pages here. So if you wanted to run this off to like a Kinko's or something like that and have like a paperback printed up, well, you could do that. And then on top of all that, you could take this to the table and, I mean, you can almost immediately jump into this. That's what's so cool about it. It does have a sample adventure in there. So you're not stuck with Oh, well, how do I set up a setting? Well, you already got one right there in the back of it. It's fine. But if you're looking for something a little lighter, something that will get your let me be clear, something like this or D&D basic or any kind of basic system where you've got rules light. And let me tell you, 200 pages and under is pretty much rules light. If you've got something like that, what this is supposed to teach you as a GM is adjudication. And that's what it should be. I think the best people to adjudicate games come from games like this, which is only 19 pages of rules. This is probably the most rules light you're going to get. You can rule of cool this thing, you can rule zero it all to hell as long as it's not written down. And guess what? Right here, most rolls are made using a d20 with higher numbers being better. Instead of using modifiers, I use advantage, roll 2d20, take the highest result. When circumstances are favorable, disadvantage, roll 2d20 and take the lowest when they're unfavorable. If the favorable and unfavorable either even out, neither is applicable. That's it. There you go. That's the key mechanic to this game. And guess what? Character sheets are not required. Want to attempt something? Narrate what you want to do. Let the GM handle the rest. Immersion is key. This is about pretending that fantasy is real in our collective imaginations, if only for a few hours. Guess what? I could take this. I'll throw it on my tablet. I'll run down to my friend's house, and we'll sit in. I will take this. I will apply it to my Hero Quest game, and guess what? We've got us one hell of a gonzo version of D&D. And you know what? Honestly, we could tell people we're still playing D&D, but we're not using character sheets. We're not using this. We're not using that. And we're using like just 2d20 or something like that. And it still works. It works and it works well. Now, here's the thing. This is why I say this is why adjudication is so important, because you narrate what you want to do and let the GM handle the rest. It's that simple. And the GM may have to really seriously consider this when you have good players. And I discussed this for about 3 hours before I went to work a couple days ago with another guy from Canada. When you do stuff like this, when you sharpen your adjudication skills, you can move up into like original versions of D&D. And we're talking like Iron Falcon or Swords and Wizardry White Box, the complete box set, the new complete core rules. It doesn't matter. Hell, you could even go into original Wretched Bastards, like the first edition, very first one. And let me tell you something, people, that is not exactly all that big. I don't understand, and this is where I side with the more militant side of things. I don't understand where you would take something like this and go, there's too many rules.
I shouldn't have to read to just play.
Yeah, yes. I do use the PDF more than I use my actual book because I like preserving my books. But anyway, I don't see how you can take this and suddenly think this is too much. This is not too much. This is like negligible. I could go to the bathroom, tuck this under my arm like Al Bundy, and read this whole thing in one sitting.
Are we saying game books are not what you read on the can? Because I was under the impression we did.
Yeah, I do read a lot of game books on the can. As a matter of fact, if you left it up to me, that's where I do most of my reading, because that's the moment I get away from everything else.
One of the things that separates player from tourist, in my opinion, is tourists think that reading game books is studying, like schoolwork. And they're not wrong. It is sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? But for players, for serious players, reading game books is for pleasure. Doesn't matter what we're reading. I'll read a monster manual back to front multiple times and just be like, ooh, new monster. We read them on the can, read them on the go, read them in our comfy chair.
Yeah.
I've pulled up 3 books right now while we're talking.
I mean, look, this is not the most difficult thing ever. David God, reading is racist. Then you're a white supremacist, son. I've seen how big your book is. I have been through
wait,
that thing.
Wait, is that the
It's
secret?
still amazing.
Is reading white supremacy because pages are white? Would it be Black Lives Matter if we had black pages with white text? Would that make you happy?
What about all that black print, white boy?
Yeah.
What about all that black print? It took that black print to make those white pages something. That was a terrible, terrible impression. Jesus, that was terrible. I'm probably getting canceled for that one. But
yeah, but Samaria does not forget.
No, Samaria does not forget.
For the damnedest bastard has joined our council fire.
Yes. and look, I'm going to say this before I bring it up. Like I was telling David. Here we go. Just my contribution to David's racism. Crumb, I almost missed the stream. Hey, those are great stories, and I'm going to say this. If you're not the type to go as hard as I did and get this, and
oh no,
DB had pointed out so much. It really, there are just a few things that got corrected that managed to seep through in this book, and I just like having them all in one place, man. That's just me, and I love the look of this thing. This is an absolutely beautiful book, guys. If I'll read one of these for fun, what do you think I'm going to do with a fucking game manual? Exactly. And I mean, I have the audio version of this. I've actually listened to the whole thing. I love this. And I will absolutely sit down and I'll grab a story out of one of these and start reading it. It's no problem. But if you're not like me and you won't go this hard, I can.
It's not kill a small child. It's a sacrifice.
That was dark. It was dark, was it not? But anyway, if you're not like me and you're not willing to go this hard, the Del Rey paperbacks are inexpensive. You can buy them one at a time, and they're these Howard stories that are perfectly preserved.
Yeah, do not under your own power buy any of the Lancer pastiches. Stay away from Lancer if you're looking for Howard.
If you want some more stories that are gameable, this right here, guys, I found this for less than $15 on Amazon. I mean, come on. They're like, not every book that you have in your library has to be a gaming book. Everything in here is gameable. And you've got the Age of Fable, which is all the Greek gods and stuff like that. You've got the Age of Chivalry, which is Arthur, the Arthurian stories. And then you've got Legends of Charlemagne. And if this is mythology, I hate to break it to Bullfinch, but Charlemagne was actually a real dude. So, I mean, Christopher Lee, he is evidence that Charlemagne did exist. I mean, I've got Grimm's fairy tales. I've got Treasury of Irish and fairy and folk tales. I got H.P. Lovecraft up here. Over on my coffee table, I've got a treasury of best loved fairy tales. All of that stuff is gameable for fantasy. And if you'll read something like that for fun, yeah, you could take a game manual and tear into it, no problem. And let's see, I read Wretched Darkness 2nd edition an hour before a game on the can. That was terrible. Wait, Wretched Darkness 2nd edition was terrible?
No, I think it was being on the can while reading it was terrible.
Okay, it says no, I'm a white supremacist because all of the characters in my book are white. And look, let's share a screen, and I'll show you. Yes, it's a big old boy. Let's see, 515 pages. It's a big boy. It's a chunky boy, but I mean, come on, it's not difficult to read. It's actually pretty easy.
Well, as a sidelight to this, because I mentioned earlier, but it wasn't a good time to talk about it. I made a player sweat yesterday. It was great. And part of that is because I think that if you're a serious player, if you really want to get good, you've got to read not just the game you're playing, right? But lots of games. and lots of books. You've got to expose yourself to a wide range of ideas and perspectives and methods. I wouldn't advocate anyone read Thirsty Sword Lesbians on a bet, but it exists, right?
And DB says Bullfinches was basically Howard's Bible when he was a lad. I can understand why. That's why I put him right next to Howard.
But here's the thing of it. This friend of mine is a younger person. She grew up surrounded by gamers, right? So she's similar to me, but different person. And she was talking about kobolds. She likes kobolds.
Yeah.
She was inflicting kobolds on her players recently. I'm like, oh, kobolds. The draconic ones or the ratty ones? Oh, the dragon ones. I'm like, oh. So what do they do? And she's like, oh, well, they made traps and they were like this and they did all these things. I'm like, oh, well, how many were there? She's like, oh, there were a bunch of them. I'm like, oh, how many? And she's like, well, and proceeds to read off what's in the Monster Manual 5e, right? Which is kobolds are a 1/8 CR, so 8 kobolds is the equivalent of 4 first-level adventurers, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty tough. And she's like, well, how many kobolds do you have, Joe? And I'm like, oh, 3 to 300. And she's like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, you go back to your 2nd edition Monster Manual. Urds appear in groups of 3 to 300. You wanna give your players a spooking. Throw 300 kobolds at them and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because while she's a perfectly cromulent player, like she's capable, she had never conceived of an encounter where literally the number of antagonists is almost limitless.
Here we go. Okay. I think I finally got all that sneezing out. But this is the problem with rules as written. Because if you get one of these people, and I've been, this is back when, growing up in a small town, you really don't know much of anything. So when you first get your hands on these books, you're looking through them and you think, okay, I have to play by these rules. So you're playing as close to the rules as you can. But here's the thing. At one point, we all did kind of look at some of those rules and go, why don't we just do with this thing what we did with GURPS and just kind of take the rules that fit and kind of just discard the ones that don't. And we did find a much more enjoyable game. Now, granted, we kept more of the rules than we threw out, far more. But there were very few rules that we just didn't use. And I'll be honest with you, I've forgotten which ones we didn't use. Okay, because they were so few and it's been so long ago that and honestly, the person who taught me, like rules as interpreted or modifying rules the best was a guy named Andy who ran our VTM games way back in the 2000s. And the one thing that sticks in my mind was you had your character flaws and then you had your character perks or whatever they were called. I don't remember off the top of my head. But he said the one hard and fast rule that he had was every one of your characters needs to have baby face and eat food. And I was like, why is that? He goes, because with baby face, you can pass for a human much more easily. You tend to go a little more unnoticed. You look more human. And with eat food, you're actually sitting there eating food and you're not arousing suspicion. Because if you're having dinner with someone and you don't have that, and you try to eat something, or here, just try this, and then you're warfing it back up, that's gonna raise some eyebrows. And the whole point of the masquerade is to keep yourself under the radar. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So he was able to explain, here's a hard and fast rule, and here's why. It does keep in line with the game, so it tracks. And then he said, okay, now the way this usually works with the perks and the flaws is you can have, you have a point bucket to spend, and then you've got to evenly match that as close as possible. And then, yep, you could, but with eat food you didn't have to. At least that was his rule.
Well, the other component of that is that with eat food you can actually eat the food. It stays food
Yeah.
for a little bit. If you don't have eat food, it turns to ash on your tongue, which is really hard to like smile at somebody now that you've got black shit all over your face. Like, hi.
Yeah. But anyway, well, kind of. I'm getting ready to explain that part too. So you had a point bucket with the perks and the flaws. You could have as many perks as you wanted. Like he threw the point bucket out, but you had to have either equal to or greater than that. Like you totaled up your points after you selected all your perks, and then you had to get that many in flaws as well. So he still kept the game balancing aspect. That way, no character got overpowered. Though we did have one guy who absolutely tried numerous times.
There's always one.
Yep. And I'll just call him Jake. Like we had numerous conversations with Jake. And I'm not kidding you. This guy was in our Vampire the Masquerade group. And when that ended up kind of fizzling out, he was part of my D&D group. He ended up getting kicked from that game over his nonsense. And then we invited him to the Magic the Gathering table. And from the first day, he's got his deck and he's literally stacking it. And this is all taking place at my house. Now, no one actually, when you have when you're at someone's house, they have house rules. You gotta follow them. So my house rule, my hard and fast house rule, everybody shuffles. We waited for him to stack his deck. He got done. I was like, all right, now everybody shuffle. And he's just sitting there. I'm not kidding. Hands on the table, deck sitting right next to him. I was like, Jake, shuffle your deck, man. I did. No, you haven't. We're all shuffling. Shuffle. I already did that. No, you didn't. I'm sitting here watching you, dude, shuffle your fucking deck. And he just refused. I was like, okay, well, then you're going to sit this game out until you shuffle. It's just how it is. That's my house rule, dude. Over at your place, we'll do it however you want.
Well, that is the other end of the spectrum. See, we just had this extended conversation of it. You got to be reasonable. You got to be open. You got to be flexible, because you do, right? But on the other end, and it sounds authoritarian. It sounds crazy. It sounds us versus player.
Yeah.
Never let your players sweat. Never let your players see you sweat, right?
Yep.
And don't let them fucking browbeat you.
Nope.
It's your table. And the reason I say that is because over on the OSR, I was sent a link by some friends, and I brought it to the Gilded, and I said, this is what makes me so angry. My friends bring me things, and they make me angry. And they're like, what is it? And what it was a clip from Dimension 20, right, of those goobers all playing D&D. And one of them asked, can I cast spells with my feet, right? Now, in practice, I'm actually open to this in theory. Like, if your character honestly has no arms, you're some kind of my left foot broken person who has to be carried on a leader, and you have practiced for hours and days and months to learn how to cast with your feet, maybe, right? But no, this was a guy wanting to fuck around, and the DM was like, no. And they're like, oh, you're so hardcore. Murph would let us do it. And the joke was that they had this other guy that was their DM who was a player this time. And they were all talking about how he would let them get away with that bullshit. He's like, yeah, I would. And I'm like, fuck those people. Fuck those people with a chainsaw. They don't know what hardcore is. Looking at their players and saying, no, you can't cast with their feet, that's not hardcore. I'm a hardcore DM. I will do awful things to you and laugh about it because I enjoy my job. Right? Well, one of the people that was in this video is a young woman named Arabia. That's her name, Arabia, which is awful. Okay? I have seen her play vampire. And the reason I hate this woman is because she makes my game bad. Okay? She's playing a vampire in V5 opposite Jason Carl, who's actually a great GM, right? As a advertising front for V5. And I checked it out because I'll look at anything once. And she's supposed to be playing a Ventru, right? And she is a lost little girl sucking on her necklace, like clicking it over her teeth, who just is like super passive and super confused and doesn't really know what she's doing all the time. And it's like, how are you a Ventru? How are you a fucking Ventru? Because you and I know that the clan Ventru is not only the clan of lords and is in control and in dominance anywhere they go, but the clan teaches you this. They don't let random Ventru wander around and be fuck-ups and be like, oh, I'm as stupid as every Nosferatu. If the Ventru find a Ventru baby, they take you in and it's like you're going to study for the next 200 years under this elder. When you come out, you will be knowledgeable or you will be dead. Right? And that's where I'm like, read the fucking manual. Play your fucking character type. Do not dick around and claim you're creative and interesting and nuanced when you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And then do not dare tell me how to run my table as a player, because I'll destroy you. I'll destroy you with a smile on my face as the flames consume you.
Yeah, I'm just convinced that the distance between the covers of fifth edition VTM is too great.
You mean the book is too big?
It really is. And the reason I say that is because the one written by Mark Ryan-Hagan was good. It was good on its own. It really didn't need any more than what it had. I think Requiem just kind of started the chain of just like they started dicking around with the lore and it started falling apart. It started falling apart quick. And I'm saying that overall in terms of White Wolf, they had great concepts. Just leave it to the tables to take it to their logical conclusion.
You and I are not going to agree on a lot of things on this subject because we both old school players in this regard. We got a lot of history. But I think the problem with V5 is that V5 didn't need to happen. Okay? You tell me, you're a White Wolf guy, you tell me, okay, look, we've done everything we can possibly do with the coming Gehenna. It's the year 2000. If we're going to end it, now's a good time because everybody's talking about that 2000s end of the year, end of the world crap.
Yep.
It's like, okay. You say we're going to make a new version. We're going to call it Requiem. We're going to mix up the status quo. Okay, fine. I'm open. I'm open to that, right? After Requiem, you had your 20th anniversary stuff, and you just had your 4th edition LARP rules drop. Okay, cool. Let that ride for a while. Let people play that shit for a while. Right? Build up a fan base. People are going to get curious. And here's a condensed collected rules from 30 years ago. You don't have to update. You don't have to alter. It's fine. Right? New owner paradox comes in. Nope, we're making a V5, guys. Okay, well, what are you doing? Oh, we're going to take some rules from Requiem. We're going to stack those in. I mean, okay, some of those rules were improvements. What else are you going to do? And then where I think it actually breaks down is not just the clans don't work. Not just does the lore not work, okay? Because you expect me to believe that honestly it wasn't a nuke. It was a group of hunters walked into the Tremere Chantry in Vienna and killed the higher ups with an assault weapon. Fuck you. But the big one is, and this is the stupidest thing. I'm not kidding. They screwed up how disciplines work. See, instead of disciplines being a trail from 1 to 5, very basic, very straightforward, right? It's now, there's a level 1 power, and then it's branching trees, and you pick your branch, and you can't have more than 5 dots. So even if you get 5 powers, you've learned your tree, and you can't learn the other tree. So let me get this straight. I can either have Mesmerize, or I can have a different power, but I can't have both because you said so. I can have the ability to dominate entire crowds, or I can have the ability to project my awareness into another body. This seems arbitrary and bullshit, right? And from there on, it spirals out, okay? Because I do. I'm. You know how every so often we talk about how we'd like to get a guy alone in a room and just beat him with a wet noodle? Okay? I know that that's us being, like, verbose, and we wouldn't actually wish harm on someone, but you know, I do. Deep in my soul of souls, I wish I could find the person who said, hey, let's just make Shamasei diet gangrel and make flesh crafting part of Protean. I want to find that guy, and I want to beat him with a baseball bat. I want to borrow your baseball bat to beat him, Raven. Because no, the fleshcraft is not the Protean. They're not the same. Just because one is kind of similar and the other one is kind of the same doesn't make them the same. I am a student of Sesame Street. I know that song real well.
Well, hang on just a second. I'm going to bring this up.
Okay.
You want that person?
No, not really. But
I'm saying you want to know who's responsible, though.
Sure.
Okay.
I'd love to know who to blame.
Okay. Well, if you want to know who to blame, I will give you exactly who to blame.
Because
Get ready.
This is Joe's ranty time.
I'm going to give you exactly who to blame.
Okay.
And you're going to love this.
I know it's not Hagen.
No, it's not. It's not. And I'm going to give it to you.
It's Frost.
Here we go.
Okay.
It's not Frost either.
No, it's at the
that
same
would be
time.
such low-hanging fruit.
No, it's just at the same time that Frost was having her freak out over G4 was when the people who were currently writing V5 at the time were like, no, you shouldn't play the Sabbat because they're bad guys. Because why would you play bad guys in a game about fucking monsters?
Here you go.
It's this person. This same person.
Here we are.
How lovely.
Yep, here we are. All, and look, the she, her pronouns, they, them, fey, fem.
Wait, fey, fem? You're a fairy? Excuse me, ma'am. You're a fairy? Since when? Because they don't exist.
And, of course, they're from Delaware.
Actually, no, that's not true. Fairies do exist. But she's not one of them.
This is the person who... This is the person who is behind Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition.
See, here's the weird irony. I actually like the new Shamasei weakness. I think it's better than needing your native soil. Right? But everything around it is like, did you even read the clan book? Do you even understand the tools you're playing with? And the answer is no. No, they don't.
I mean...
Oh God, everything she says is vile.
Yep. And I mean, look at how many people are just absolutely fawning. And my response is, okay, whatever.
Yes, right there in the middle, Raven is like, okay.
Whatever. I don't care. Like, okay, and the reason I responded was because literally screenshot what I said. And it was me at 3 a.m. after experiencing alt-right LARPers playing fascist gangrel. This is what we have right now. These people who see a goose stepping, brown shirt wearing, Bellamy saluting, push broom for a high speed cocksucker sporting, and I mean mustache here. Motherfucker behind every blade of grass.
Well,
this is what I'm talking about with paranoid fucking delusion. And that's exactly what this is paranoid fucking delusion. The whole point is Here's the thing. You put this in a fucking book. I don't want your book. Here's why. I don't give a shit about your paranoid fucking delusions. Get it out of my goddamn books.
Here's the thing. Let's be super charitable when we don't have to be. Let's assume for a moment that what they're saying is true. Let's assume it, okay? I want to know the story. Tell me more. How did these gang
Give me the group. Give me names.
Yeah, how did these gang girls express alt-right perspectives, and what was their in-game activities? How were they being fascist? And then explain to me, having told me this tale, how that does not fit in the neo-feudal hellscape of Vampire the Masquerade. Because if you come to me and you say, Joe, we're going to make some brown shirts and we're going to play fucking fascist gangrel, right? And the idea is that they are a pack of gangrel who use their strength and their claws to enforce their will on others brutally, and that they have a play for power. They want to seize the praxis. I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, no, this is a thing that could happen. And those guys sound awful. And I really do hope the sheriff or the prince stop you. Let's do it. Right? Not because I want to be a ultra fascist in game. That's stupid. No, I don't want to do that. But because I do not see how such a vile set of character concepts would not happen in Vampire. Of course it happens. And you want to mix it up. You want to make people's head tilt. Tell me they're anarchs. Tell me they are so radically anti-monarchist that they put on the Reich. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and this is it. I felt threatened. That's all. That's all that's needed. Yeah, yeah. That's pretty much the entire thing. It's I felt. Well,
right.
Fuck your feelings.
And Jack has the right of it. It sounds more Malk who thinks they're a Witcharoo, which I'm down with.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. Malkavians, there's so many harmful tropes there. Motherfucker, that's the point. They're the ones fucking things up. They don't know they're doing it, but they're fucking things up. The Morlocks from X-Men are fucking hideous. That's why they stay in the sewers.
Hey, my preferred version of Malkavian is Knight of the Moon. I love being a sociopath that's perfectly reasonable and logical and has dominate. And his motivations may be completely nonsensical and deranged. But you'll never know it until it's too late.
I want to know one thing. Okay? Let me do this.
Okay. Paint me a picture.
If Turbo Jax out there is watching, I want to know something. Tell me how you play this game and not have an enemy. Because the GM is going to have to run the Nazis. They're going to have to run all the factions you don't play. Tell me how that's possible. Because a good villain should be aberrant. It should be absolutely terrible. And you should give you every reason to go after them.
Oh, the best part is I know the answer to that question. Is your body ready?
Oh, probably.
Okay, so first of all, anyone who's seen the movie Fury knows the differential. There's German army and there's Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
The SS are not a recognized military. Those are Nazis. Kill Nazis. German army, take captive. But then there's this little game. Some of you might know of it. Some of you might not.
No, I saw most. No, Dennis Detwiller made it very, very clear in his insane ramblings on Twitter that he didn't want us buying Delta Green or playing it. So I was like, okay, there's one. I understand it's like Call of Cthulhu meets like Spec Ops or something like that. It's like modern day, and that concept alone is awesome to me. But if you're not of his political persuasion, he doesn't want you playing it. I'm like, fine, fuck you. I'm libertarian, and apparently to them, libertarian means like Nazi light. So Sig, fuck you, to that dude too. Fuck him.
Right.
And Jack, we'll see you later, man. Have a great day.
See you, Jack. So here's the thing. There's this little game called Company of Heroes 2. Company of Heroes 2 has this unenviable situation where you can play the Allies and you can play specifically America and England, okay? You can play the Stalinists, okay, and then you can play Germany, and you pause for a minute, you go, oh man, how do you possibly reconcile Germany, right? And it's presented that you're running the German army, okay, and the German army is presented as just another faction of war in a war, right? But when you get to the buying your policies element, right, which style your tactics, right, they are presented in the most horrifying, propagandist, terror-causing kind of way, because they actually made the division between the government as a terror state, right, and the army as an organ of, a wider military force. They made that divisor part of the game. You're playing the army. You follow orders. Your orders may be terrible. You didn't choose them.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. That's how you play the bad guy, or you have the bad guy in your Operation White Box game. You accept that the ultimate evil exists. You also accept that the guy you're shooting in the foxhole might not actually be on board. Because, it's the weirdest thing. And when you pointed out, people say that you're an apologist, but a lot of the young people were told, you're going to go to war now. And they said, but I don't want to go to war. They said, oh, do you want to go to camp? And they said, no, I've heard camp is not a fun time. So you're going to war then. Lovely. And they ended up going.
You're going to camp.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. It's like, no, the first people who were conquered by the Nazis were the Germans. Doesn't matter how strong the propaganda is. A lot of people cheered because they knew if they didn't cheer louder than the guy next to them, they were going to camp.
Yeah, and honestly, I think if a lot of these people like that were German at the time, they probably would have fallen into line with the party.
Yeah,
they would have, and they can't deny it because they've been repeating those mistakes since day one, 3 years ago. This undying party loyalty, which I don't fucking understand. I don't get it, and I'm just like, I'm not going to. And these people that claim, I'm going to get off the soapbox here pretty quick.
Yeah.
These people who are apologists for communism, motherfucker, Stalin eliminated a whole lot more people by starvation than Hitler ever did. But we're not ready for that conversation, are we?
We're getting.
Both were tyrannical. Both were authoritarian. Both were both regimes were absolute fucking despots. And you know what? I won't have a part of either of them. So if you side with either of them, go fuck yourself. I don't care.
Well,
You can hop off. It's fine. And I don't give a shit. Personally, this is and I've pointed this out time and again. In fact, let me announce another death that this could not be more timely. Volition has shut down. You know what? Razor Fist was right. Go broke, get woke, ultimately croak. That's the way of it.
I was really hoping you were going to say Varg, but I'll take Volition, even though it does make me sad.
I see.
Hey, guys! If we give you Varg, can we have Volition back from the good old days?
Jesus, you know what? When it comes to Varg, all I'm saying is like, okay, I'm gonna say this. I actually watched some of Varg's stuff because I was like, I'm curious. What the fuck's going on here?
What goes on in a madman's day?
The last I heard about him, he had gone to prison. He was sentenced to like 21 years. I think he did like 16. The last I heard about him, they had let him out for a break, which is something that's a thing in Norway. And I was like, they let you out for a break? What the fuck? I've seen. Look, if I had to do time anywhere in the world, let's just say I got 21 years, I'm going to do any time anywhere in the world. Send my ass to fucking Norway because goddamn, those places are pretty fucking nice. I don't think I'd mind too much.
It's my favorite Metalocalypse joke. They go to Norway to visit Toki's family, and he wants to show them around, and all of it is just the sweetest place. It's like Danbury, Connecticut. And he's like, "Oh, let's go to the first death metal album store ever." And it's like, okay. And you have like Lovely Park, and then on the other side you have like Friendly Families, and right in the middle you have this screaming black death box. And they go inside, and there's a dude with his face painted white and black, and he's like,
corpse paint, yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, do you have any death clock?" He's like, "No, I don't carry them. They're too digital." And he's like just a complete douche canoe. And it's just this black box of evil in the middle of Danbury, Connecticut. I love it. Because also, real quick bit of side news, if you didn't know, the Death Clock movie is out, people.
Yes, I've heard, and I can't wait to see it.
Oh, I saw it. It's beautiful. I'd watch it again. You want to go watch it? We should watch it after this.
But anyway, the last I heard, they let him out for a break, which I didn't know was a thing until then. And this was back in the early, mid to late aughts. They let him out for a break, and he didn't come back. And I'm like, wait, what? A criminal? You let him out of prison, he didn't come back when he promised he would. Wow. Let me.
Yeah, but just consider for a minute. Just consider for a minute. It's noteworthy that he didn't come back, because think about how many actually just do.
Right. Wow. A criminal didn't come back to prison. What? Who'd have thunk it? And then they find him. Where did they find him? On the border of Sweden, in a car with a trunk full of shotguns. Had he crossed the border, he'd have been home free. So This manhunt ends there. They bring him back.
Wow.
I don't know whether he paroled out. I think he paroled out. He ended up moving to France, changing his name, getting married. He's got a bunch of kids, and he ended up writing Mifrog. He had this YouTube channel, and I didn't know any of this until someone had pointed it out on a. It's like one of these like Reddit clones that was popping up when Reddit started its heavy-handed censorship, and I was like, okay, let's go check out his channel and see what's what. And so I'm watching some of these videos, and there's nothing really, like, there are so many people screeching, but there's nothing really inflammatory going on. And I'm like, okay, he's telling stories about what happened that night. He's telling stories about his days in black metal, and talking about like what prison was actually like for him. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And then he announces he's got a role-playing game, and I'm like, what? And I do remember one documentary where he said he met Pelle Yngve Olin, a.k.a. Dead, from Mayhem. Knows that this guy was kind of depressed, but he was a really nice guy. So he was like, you know what, let's cheer him up. Let's get him some role-playing games. And I was like, oh, okay, so they played these games back in the day. I wonder what they played. And then I'm looking into Mifrog, and I'm like, okay, don't see anything. And Mifrog is racist, and I'm like, okay, I don't see anything. Oh, there's something that could be construed. Yeah, I could see that. I'm going through it again because a friend of mine actually recommended it to me. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, man. He's like, it's $10, dude. You spent $10 on worse. I'm like, yeah, good point. So I'm looking, and then I find a real sticking point, and I'm like, if he'll get rid of this in the next edition, because third edition was kind of a mess in terms of lore. I was like, if he gets rid of that in the next edition, maybe I'll check it out. So the next edition fourth edition comes along, and this one is better, and it's not a mess in terms of lore. Okay, cool. I picked this one up again, $10, and it still has has a lot of the same shit in it. And I watched some more videos because I'm looking into some more stuff about this game. And now I'm like, the more I look into it, the less I want to deal with it. It's a solid rule set, but it's terrible everywhere else.
The advantage of being self-published is that you can have a more pure, more complete image of whatever you want to put out there.
Exactly.
The problem with self-publishing is that if your image or what you want to put out there is awful, you're gonna get it.
I'm looking at it, and he starts bringing up some of the points that I'm seeing. Primarily, one of them being the I can't remember the name of the beings now, but he's saying, he's like, you know, this group over here, are they racist? Well, no, they have fangs. Who do you know has fangs? And I'm like, okay, Varg, we need to have a talk here, bud, because those people, you describe them as being from a desert area. They are merchants and they're swindlers. I think we kind of know. And look, if Thula is an analog for Norway, which you've clearly mentioned it is, I don't think it's such a stretch to equate those people with a certain with certain Semitic cultures. I don't think that's a stretch. And give me about 5 minutes in New Orleans, I'll show you people with fangs.
I'm not defending Varg because I hate him. I hate him so much. But I will say it is difficult because I have a friend who has a server where we can watch stuff together. He's uploading stuff that he owns physically so that it's can be passed around to be viewed. And one of the things that's on there is Spaceballs. We all love Spaceballs, right? But Spaceballs by Brooks, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, the Schwartz, well, his Yoda analog, a lot of those jokes are really kind of based in some skeevy, awful tropes, but a Jew's making them, so it's okay. And it's like, well, no, they're not actually okay. But they're being made by a Jew, and that's better than being made by some racist prat in France. So, like, I guess there's a logic there. The thing is like we wouldn't believe Varg is a racist piece of shit if there wasn't so much other contributing information. Like he wants to stone the gays to death, but he's okay with watching lesbians because that makes him feel awesome.
Yeah, that was the big sticking point with me. I was like, okay, and here's why it's the big sticking point with me, and it's the one I've hammered home to no end. No one cares who you want to fuck in a game. Stop it. Thirsty Sword Lesbians, Baldur's Gate, Mifrog, stop it. It's dumb. It's stupid. It goes nowhere.
It's extra funny. It's extra funny because it is inconsistent in application. Okay? I got a friend.
Ro, you walked into a discussion on sexuality and gaming at the moment.
I got a friend. I got a friend who dragged me into a game of Amber Diceless. I hate diceless game systems. Okay? I just do. Anytime I've run into somebody that's like, I only play diceless game systems, there's some dreamy-eyed dip canoe that's like, oh, you play D&D? No. So my friend is like, no, come on, Joe. You'll like Amber. You'll like its setting. You'll like its context. It's very textual. It's like, come on. It's like, all right, look. I can't say I don't like something if I've never tried it. So I'll come play Amber Diceless with you because I know a good DM can make a good game out of anything. Right? And I'd played with this guy before. So I knew he was good. So we played Amber Diceless, and we're playing with two other guys. One of them is a bit autistic, and he's real young, and he's playing James Bond in a magical fantasy land. Okay, cool. He's not really with it, but that's cool. His other friend is an academician, right? But he's got a serious dose of the Jesus, right? And he's got a serious idolization of the ancient Greeks. Like the pedestal he puts Greek philosophy on, coupled with his Christianity, is like this weird soup for anyone that is halfway knowledgeable in historical reality and pre-Christian dogma, right? So it's fun. We had a discussion once, and he stormed off, and we're like, yeah, we can't talk about stuff outside of game because it's a bad idea. So
here's the thing. Cal's saying I disagree. Those jokes are fine. Those tropes have some reality to them too. But so what? Enough other people have been that way throughout history. That's true. I mean, we're talking. Look, con artists,
right?
Con men cross, racial and national lines.
Yeah.
If you want evidence of it, politicians.
The reason I bring up this Amber game though, okay, is we were in a extra dimensional space that was basically a cosmic bazaar where you can get anything you needed, right? We got a boat, we got a crew, we're getting gear, and I'm doing all the making sure we've got enough food and water and equipment and weapons, and we're gonna get mercenaries and shit. And this guy goes and he basically whores up the town before we set up. I mean, priorities, fine, whatever, right? The thing is that the logic is the guy got into it with me because we were talking 40K, and I was trying to say that the Chaos Gods have positive elements, but they are also solvent, right? And he would not accept. He's like, no, Slanesh, the god of pleasure, is just evil. It's like, but why though? Because it makes you be a salacious, luxuriant. It's like, okay, but why though? And then in his role-playing game, he's like, I will sleep with my harem. I have 600 women. It's like, bro, do you see the double standard here?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and I just let it ride because it wasn't worth getting into a fight about.
Yeah, and I said this before, but like I said, if this is what you have to put in your game or your book or something like that, I just don't want it, and that's true. That's true. I don't want it. I don't need it. I know I think there's like a new version of Mifrog. I don't want it. I don't care. Whatever. Here's the thing though. I still think those books should exist because I think it's really up to the person buying it to decide whether or not they want it. And with Volition going the way it did, where for those of you who don't know what Volition is, and I know there's one in here, no idea who Volition is. Volition is the studio that created Saints Row, among other types of games. And those games were loved and they were popular and they were doing really great. And then they sold out to another company who was then broke.
Deep Purple.
Yep, they sold out to Deep Purple. Deep Purple was broke after buying them,
and got bought by somebody else.
Yeah, so they decided after looking at the Saints Row IP, they were going to reboot the original Saints Row, and they were going to include all this social justice nonsense in there. Consense would have made a much better term, in my opinion, but they put all of that in there. The fans hated it, and then they began attacking their fans. And there's still someone on Twitter right now seriously coping. Oh no, it sold well. It did this. It did that. It's like, well, then why are they shutting down? If it did so well, why are they shutting down? They're shutting down because it didn't do well. They went fucking broke again. They ultimately croaked. That's what happened. So that's why I say I don't want any book banned. I just want to look at the sales numbers. You look at the sales numbers, you see how people are responding, and the people who are responding should be the people who actually bought it. I don't think everyone who bought a certain game is a certain way. I don't think people who buy 5th edition D&D are probably, Danger Here weirdos. I think a lot of people who play D&D, the core books, I think a lot of them are actually, this is the game that they got introduced to because there was nothing else at the time. This is the one that they came up on now. When the lockdowns happened, and they're probably going to happen again, this was the game that, the parents were like, hey, you know what? I played D&D as a kid. Let's start that with the family. And they did that. And now, yeah, we got more people into the hobby, but now it's a case of, what happened? What did you do with the 3 years of windfall that you had? Because there are a lot of businesses right now. They had 3 years of windfall. Now suddenly, we're in a crisis. Oh, now we're losing money. Well, no shit, because all the rest of the businesses reopened. That's a rant I could go on about. But what I'm saying is, I think a lot of people who play D&D, I think there's a majority of them who are absolutely silent right now. Some of them are playing by the rules. They're doing what they can, but they're not at the conventions. They're just doing it at the family table. And when the lockdowns were lifted, they were like, okay, we're kind of done with this right now, because now we can go and do other things. I think that's kind of the case. I think most of your tourists already went home. They came in, they saw, they thought it was nice. And I think the Basic Expert did a great explanation on his channel about tourism and the hobby. And the worst of the tourists stayed and were like, no, the way you do this is wrong. And it's like, I don't, the real ones are like, I don't care. I don't care.
Here's what's wrong with woke as a marketing strategy. Okay? And I'm going to use a non-woke example because it's actually the classroom example and everyone's forgotten it exists. Okay? Everybody has heard of the game series Watch Dogs, right? Because Watch Dogs 2 and Watch Dogs 3 went on to do okay, right? But we've got to talk about Watch Dogs 1. And it's not just the 60 frames per second scandal where we found out that they were ramping down their game on purpose and hiding it. That's stupid, okay? But before it was
I only ever played the first one, so.
Before it was out, before we knew anything, before we met that bland as shit character, Aiden Pierce, right? They had a Game of the Year box. Okay, fine. It's their special box because they did a special. I don't know if it's going to be Game of the Year. Who gives a shit, right? And they're like, and you can have the hat. You can get the baseball cap with the Watchdog sign on it for the iconic character Aiden Pierce. But wait, what? Iconic? How is he iconic? The game's not out. It hasn't met first contact with the consumer base. We haven't decided what's iconic. Marketing is telling us it's iconic. Who the fuck are they to say, oh, well, we focus grouped and 12 people we pulled in a room who were too stupid to get out of $5 for an hour said we like it? How is it iconic? Woke is not about whatever the pet politics are. It never has been. It's about trying to tell you as a consumer what to buy and what you like, and trying to convince you that what you buy is the same as the politics you support, and that it is your identity. If they want to make you a lifestyle brand, you're not. You're a person. You're more complete, multifaceted, and weird than that. You are not your D&D books.
Right. Well, and I think Razorfist pointed this out in his rant that I watched last night.
Right.
He said that, I've pointed out BlackRock owns just about everything. It's insane. And the head of BlackRock, who his last name is fittingly Fink, went on to talk about these kinds of things, the ESG scores and all that stuff. And what he said was that we have to force behaviors. It's like, okay, well, if your idea is good, it doesn't require force.
That's
just flat. I've been a supporter of that philosophy for quite a while.
Let's also bring this one up because I think it's very important to mention. That's anti-capitalist, children.
Yeah.
That runs counter to our basic thesis of our country and the idea of a free market.
Exactly.
You don't force the invisible hand. The invisible hand adjusts based on what the market will bear, based on what you, the consumer, want. You decide, not them.
I mean, look, if I'm the only one, like, let's just say a store has the Coca-Cola in the glass bottles, or what we like to call Mexican Cokes.
Nice.
Okay. If they have those and I'm the only asshole buying them, guess what? Those are going to go away. Yep. Whether they're actually good or not, they're going to go away. But if I like them and I'm telling others, yeah, these are better than the Cokes in the cans or the Cokes in the plastic bottles because of this X, Y, and Z. If I can convince you that way to go buy those Cokes, guess what? You're going to start seeing more sodas in glass bottles. And you're going to see what you will probably see happen is another shift. Another shift will be Coca-Cola may be like, you know what? These aren't selling as well as these. Maybe we'll make more of these because Coca-Cola is going to be about making money. It's going to be about that. But when Coke does their try to be less white, it's like, motherfucker, fuck you. I'll go back to drinking water.
And let's be clear, it does work both ways. When Nintendo gets people addicted to amiibos and then curates the number of amiibos in any one region so that the amiibos cost hundreds of thousands of dollars because if you want Link, you've got to travel out of state to get it. That is also fucking you, the consumer. That is also shitty behavior on their part. The fact they get away with it is unfortunate.
My question is, which link? Understand, many of the amiibos that I have for Smash Brothers, I have one. It's a Yoshi. Hang on a second, I'll grab it.
Oh my god, this is amazing.
I do. I've got a lot of these like iconic Nintendo characters.
You know, I can't judge because I've got $2,000+ of unpainted miniatures. I can't judge your amiibo collection.
Yeah. This one is not made for Smash Brothers. This is made for a different game. Guess what? I could still use it for Smash Brothers.
And it's Yoshi.
It's Yoshi, yeah. And, I mean, I've got like Bowser, Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach. I've got Zelda. I've got Sheik, Star Fox, Sonic the Hedgehog, Samus, Diddy Kong, Pikachu. You know, I've got a bunch of these things, and I think I might have bought one of them. I might have bought one myself, but the rest of them were actually purchased for me because I played Smash Brothers.
Can I just mention, I like any conversation we have where you turn into a small child. And you're like, let me tell you about my amiibos. They're amazing. It's like, oh, this is great.
And here's the funny part. I used the Luigi amiibo. I used Mario and Luigi first on Smash Bros. And I was working with this guy, and he and I were kind of bonding over Smash Brothers. And I handed him my 3DS. I said, "Here, check out Luigi." And he starts like trying to fight against Luigi, and he's like, "Jesus Christ, he's fast for no reason."
I have this mental image in my brain, okay, of like you and I standing out on a street corner under a street lamp in dark of night. You're not wearing your sunglasses, so you got your crazy eyes out like you're a nighttime predator. And I'm there, and we're in our dark jackets, and we're talking about our dark stuff, and we're being grim and evil. And somebody comes up and is like, "Hey, you guys want to go to Waffle House?" It's like, "Fuck yeah, let's go!"
Hell yeah!
And suddenly,
you know how long it's been since I've been to a fucking Waffle House? God damn!
Suddenly we're just the friendliest guys, because that's the secret. The secret is that we're actually wonderfully like social, nice people, but we look like murderers.
We just look. We're not evil. We're just drawn that way.
Right.
But this is why I say like the people who promote this kind of thinking in their games. The reason I say I don't want it, when they're telling me, "Oh, Gygax is secretly racist," I'm like, "No, he's not. You're an asshole. You're fucking delusional." That's why I said before, I don't want your paranoid fucking delusions in my game. You know, and no, I'm not going to buy it, because when I do buy it, what you see is sales figures. Oh, they must have liked this because they bought it. Therefore, we'll put this in there more, or we'll put more of it in there. And it's like, no, I'm done with that.
Yet again, people thinking that other people are monoliths, right?
It doesn't work that way.
There's always been a nerd hierarchy, right? And even back then, even at the rudiment, right? Gary and Dave were kind of like elite nerds. They were nerds with side jobs who dressed nice and cleaned up, right?
Yeah.
You know, you look at them on 60 Minutes, they look real nice, right? You look at you and I, you're the pretty one here. I look pretty scuzz, right? Just because, you know, I got all this multi-day growth, and I'm just sitting around in my t-shirt. We are more indicative of the average table player than Dave and Gary ever were, right? Yeah. And it just stands out. It's like, oh, well, Gary was a racist. It's like, no. Compared to us, Gary was a fucking saint. We can go find players way more racist than Gary might have been at any time in his life.
That's very true. We can now. That doesn't mean that we're going out looking for them. It just means that we can find them.
Okay. Look, maybe we are going out looking for them, but it's in a pickup truck with a baseball bat, and it's because we want to have a conversation about their poor life decisions. That's a different matter. That's how we spend our personal time, and you shouldn't judge.
But I did want to bring this up. Speaking of speaking of good games, because I'm gonna get back on good stuff now. The Wretched Verse. You can get Wretched Bastards and Wretched Epoch Second Edition, 50% off at the Red Room store. I still recommend these games because they're just a lot of damn fun. And if you're not a fan of the alignment system, this is going to be the game for you because the Wretched role playing game doesn't deal with it doesn't deal with an alignment system. It deals with the 7 deadly sins. And if you pick up their Wretched Verses, I forget which one it is right off the top of my head, but if you pick that one up, what it does is it adds some nuance to it. Oh, and you play an anti-hero. You're not you're you're playing funny. The Han Solo, not the Luke Skywalker or the Ben Kenobi.
It's actually extra funny if you haven't seen in Wretched Darkness, that Wretched Verse is now a part of core gameplay.
And also, DB points out, J.R.R. Tolkien sailed into the West this day 50 years ago. Also, rest high on Crimes Mountain, Jimmy Buffett. Yes, we mentioned that. That's like a huge loss to music. The world is much poorer without him.
Look, Crom and Jimmy Buffett are having a hamburger. Okay, it'll be great.
Yeah,
they're having a cheeseburger. As to
cheeseburger. What's a cheeseburger?
Burger. As to Tolkien sailing off into the West, I'm sure it was a sign that said, "Don't let the door hit you on the way out." But that's just my opinion.
I personally, I'm a Tolkien fan. Now, when I say I'm a Tolkien fan, I'll be honest with you, I'm not as big a fan as some others. Like in my library right now, I do have The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy that's sitting on my shelf right now. On my phone, I do have the audiobooks. So my only disappointment with them is that they put that Rings of Power fucking cover on it, and I hate that. I do have the Silmarillion. I haven't listened to read it yet, so there's that. But I am going to go back to vampires for just a minute because I really want to talk about this. Oh gosh, this is so. Oh wow. So I'm going to assume that many of you have probably seen the movie John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yes, I've read the book. The book is better.
But is it?
It is.
Oh my God, I'm listening to it, and oh my God, it's so bad. But it's so bad, but it's so enjoyable.
It is so much better. There is so much more going on.
Dude, everyone in there is built like a fucking linebacker. Everyone.
Sure. I love the idea of massive linebacker poem. The Papa. But
that's everyone. It's everyone on the team. It's everybody.
Except for the primary vampire antagonist.
Like, I didn't even get to see the primary vampire antagonist. I just got to hear him go, Crow, and try to come after him. I was like, geez, come on. Now, they got the part where he went for the crossbow and got stuck with it. They got that part in there. The whole scene with the hotel or the motel they were staying in and partying. There weren't any prostitutes in there because they were trying to get them in, and that's when the master vampire attacked. But we have, like, I don't even know his name. I haven't gotten a real description of the guy. Nothing. And I'm sitting there, and like, Jack is not meeting with a cardinal. He's meeting the Pope. He went all the way out to the fucking Vatican.
When you really read it, you find out that basically the third act of the film is something they made up. They entirely diverged from the book.
Yeah, Father Adam is built like he's this brawny guy, and I'm just like, oh, come on. I'll be honest with you, I like the movie a little more. This is one of the rare occasions where I love the movie more than the book, but I still love the book. It's so terrible.
Here's the thing. First of all, I think there's room for both. I think we can like both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's possible.
I'm just saying that as a piece of fiction, the book is, in practical, better than the film. But the film is great.
The film is wonderful.
Okay?
I actually went and saw it in the theater. I wanted to see it so bad. James Woods is awesome.
Let's just consider that James Woods makes wearing grandpa pants awesome in that entire film. Okay? And that's a lesser Baldwin. that they pick up.
Yeah.
That's not Alec.
And here's the thing. There's a character in the book named Cat who's described as more of a surfer guy.
Yeah.
That's basically John Bon Jovi's character from the second movie.
Right, from the sequel.
Which was also decent in my opinion. I thought I actually had fun watching it. I still do.
You know what my favorite part of the movie is?
What?
The fact that one of the vampire hunters at the beginning who gets killed at the hotel massacre is the toe cutter from Mad Max in an uncredited role.
Nope. No, it's not. Nope, it's not him. That's a completely different dude. As a matter of fact, that the guy you're talking about is Mark Boone Jr., the guy who like Valak sticks his hand into him and just rips him in half.
I mean, I'm gonna have to pull it up now. We're gonna have to dig into this.
IMDb it. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. That is Mark Boone Jr. Mark Boone Jr. has been in episodes of Quantum Leap. Actually, he was in one episode. It was during the biker episode. Sam leaps into a 1950s biker, and he and Mark Boone Jr. actually have a fight. And speaking of bikers, he was also in Sons of Anarchy as Bobby Munson, aka they call him Elvis.
Right,
because he's also
I know the guy.
Yeah, same guy. Now, the guy who played Toe Cutter also played Immortan Joe in Mad Max Fury Road. Different actor. Totally different actor. In fact, the guy who plays Toe Cutter and Immortan Joe is actually a Shakespearean actor.
Yes, and he is of East Indian descent.
Mm.
Weird little factoid, I know.
Yeah.
Are we quiet? We're at YouTube. Shut up. Oh, God. I'm like the only person who knows how to spell this movie, and everyone gets it wrong. If I don't call it John Carpenter's Vampires, I'll never find it. As you may or may not know, the actual spelling for John Carpenter's Vampires is not vampires the word, it's vampire $.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's on book too.
Did not know that, but okay.
Oh, only pertinent because while it does say vampires, it's like the joke is it's not an S. If you're trying to find it,
I'm not even looking it up because I've actually looked into this actor before. He's one of my favorite actors. Mark, I'm talking about Mark Boone Jr. Of course.
Oh yeah, no, he's great.
Yeah, he really is good. I love how he could pull off lovable to unlikable.
Yeah.
In the same role.
I mean, he was in The Mandalorian too.
Basically, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a bit character. He gets blown up.
Oh, well, shit. Seems to be his motif is getting killed or getting his ass kicked.
Well, the Disney Star Wars has a problem. They like to get cameos, but they fail to understand that keeping famous people around might actually go well for them.
Well, and here's the other thing. If we're going to talk about bit parts of these character actors who like to take roles getting their asses kicked, there are a couple movies. Both of them, well, no, not both of them, but they do have like connections. One of them is called Near Dark. That's about vampires, naturally.
Okay.
And that
There's
one,
Mark.
Yep. And
continue.
But anyway, Near Dark has a scene where there's a sort of a ruffian type in a bar that Bill Paxton drains and kind of gags because he's like, I hate when they ain't been shaved. Same guy was in Terminator 2.
Yep.
And Arnold kicked his ass to take his clothes and his bike.
And he is actually a biker. Like they just randomly hired a biker.
Yeah. It's
like how I love that Danny Trejo gets hired on to be a cartel member when Danny Trejo used to be in a cartel.
Yeah. What was it? Someone he posted this to Twitter. He said, "I'm always being asked, don't you ever get tired of being playing the angry Chicano guy?" And he goes, "What are you talking about? I am an angry Chicano guy."
Well, more importantly, do you know why Danny Trejo dies in every movie he's in where he's a bad guy?
No.
It's in his contract.
Seriously?
He actually refuses to play a bad guy unless he dies in movie because he doesn't want to tell kids that crime and inequity is a good way to live. He wants to set the example that if you do this, you could fucking die.
Damn.
Which is why I love the fact that he's also a superhero because he is Machete.
True. Yeah. And I do love the Machete films. Those are a lot of fun to watch. But anyway,
There we go.
just kind of getting down to it, like, that guy tends to get his ass kicked in movies. Danny Trejo isn't the only one with kind of that stipulation to his contract. I think it's in here's the thing. How old is he now? We got to think about that.
Danny Trejo just had a birthday. He's been sober for 20 years, and
Yeah.
I don't recall, but he's pretty old. He's pretty aged.
I remember Salma Hayek was talking about him. He's on the set of Desperado, and he's got that big tattoo of the woman on his upper body.
Yeah.
Well, he sees her. He ran up to her. He tore his shirt open. He goes, "I just got out of jail, and I've had this on me the whole time. I've had you with me the whole time." He's like, "Hey, look, I stopped robbing banks years ago, but for you, I would rob a bank again."
There you go. Kyle says he's 79.
Jeez, yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, no kidding. He's gotten old. Yeah, he's like 8 years older than my dad. So yeah, nobody's gonna look the same at 79. On top of that, it's like how much drinking and drugging and all that did he do? I go back and I watch Desperado and what else? From Dusk Till Dawn and a couple other movies that he's been in, and I see like how much younger he looked then as opposed to now.
Me.
What?
You're right.
Yep.
I accede to your categorical vampire movie knowledge. I submit.
Yep, 93. There you go. Look, Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson is 90 years old. Do you know I still, to this day, if you put me in a room full of celebrities that all are like, you put me in a room with Kevin Smith, Snoop Dogg, Willie Nelson, and who else? Like just a whole bunch of celebrities who are hardcore weed smokers, and you ask me to pick one, I'm picking Snoop Dogg, and here's why. Because I cannot pick Willie. I will be brain dead after smoking with Willie. Like, I'm serious. He's going to sit there, he's going to play something, he's going to pass me the joint or the bong or the one-hitter pipe or whatever. Here, try this. And I'm going to be like, I will take one hit off of that, and I'll be in a corner cross-eyed and drooling.
Here's the thing about Willie, and I think this is a wonderful thing for us to be nearing the end of show on.
Yeah.
Because we're always saying, do what you love and, make the world a better place. And that really sounds kind of hollow when we also talk about being huge metal fans and being dark and evil. And we're gonna gather in darkened halls and worship our eldritch deities. But here's the thing. Willie Nelson had been kind of your grandpa's guitar man for decades, okay? And that's not a disrespect to Willie. That's just a statement that for a time, Willie fit into the same sphere as we'd put Dolly. Really safe, really non-threatening, right? Because you had the Man in Black, and you had Chris Christopherson, and you had Dan, and they were all the Outlaws. They were all hardcore. And I know Willie played with them, but of the bunch, Willie was the one that's kind of like almost the Ned Flanders of country, right?
At least that was the initial image.
Right. Well, Willie's security guys love him. He's the nicest guy. They love him. He takes care of them. He's good to them. They're good to him, right? The government was going to come arrest Willie. The government was, Willie, we know you got to grow on your land. We know you're doing the drugs. And this is a country that does not accept the marijuana. We're going to come get you. Right? And not Willie. Willie never said anything outrageous. Willie's security said, government going to come take Willie? Okay. Come and get him. And they're like, what? And it's like, yeah. We have training. We have equipment. We'll go 3 for 3 with the government if you want to take Willie off this land. And they never did. Because his own people were willing to go to bat for him of their own volition, knowing that it was potentially hard prison and sentences and people getting shot. You know, that's loyalty you can't buy.
Nope.
Willie is just a decent human being, and everybody loves him.
I love Willie. I do. As a human being and actor, I love Willie. The music, I grew up on it, but I'm going to tell you right now, I would never smoke with him because I'll just be brain dead by the time it's over.
Yet again, what are you guys into? Oh, we're dark and evil, and we like metal. Some guy walks up. You guys like Willie? It's like, I love Willie.
Fuck yeah!
Oh my god! It just
fuck yeah!
The facade of evil just drops away, and we become the sweetest guys on earth. Because it's like, oh yeah, let me tell you all kinds of stories my mom used to tell me about Willie Nelson.
Or you look at him and you go, wait, you mean there are people that don't?
Right.
How? Who are these people? Point me to them.
They must die.
They have to go. But just to kind of wrap things up, I wanted to do this. I got to apologize to the people who watched because there was no Rune of the Week. There was no Havamal series. I was kind of out on an adventure with a friend. And if you were on Twitter, you saw those little 1-minute videos I put up, or 30-second videos. And I was just kind of like showing him like where I went out to film like you see the bridge in the intro. That's a real bridge that I actually went there and shot that footage. And then of course the altar that's also here. Many people have seen it. It's different now than what it was, but there was also like I didn't really get footage of this, but there was a waterfall, and then there was that bridge that you're going to see at the end. You, like when I roll closing credits, you'll see that sort of like tunnel and bridge, and you'll kind of see right through it. I was showing all this off, and we took a walk. I'm not kidding you, from one town into another on this trail. And this was a great day for him and me. And I was just kind of showing him all this stuff. Guys lived in the area for 3 years. He didn't know any of this stuff existed. And I was just like, yeah, you'd be amazed. Like if you just took a walk around, you'd be amazed at what you see.
Vital questions.
Yeah.
Did you attain your quest goals?
You know what? I actually did. I forgot a piece of essential equipment, and here's where I'm going to close out with this story because
I got to ask, how much XP did you get?
Oh, I got a lot. I'll update you on that afterward.
Okay.
Get ready. So we're walking now. I've got this like this kind of drawstring backpack that I got at a dollar store down south, and I've got all the stuff that I picked up yesterday. We'll say spell components, and I forgot one piece of essential equipment, which is my walking stick, my wizard staff.
Over there. No, you didn't have your spell focus.
Did not. I didn't. I had my spell components. I had no staff.
Oh no.
But anyway,
so the hand component signs now.
So you got to understand that my friend, I'll just call him Ricky. Ricky was built like a linebacker at one point. I mean, this dude, I could tell at one time he had really broad shoulders and big chest. This guy probably liked to play some football, full contact. And, since then it's been kind of a struggle for him. There's depression and all that. And me, I was like, dude, I'm going to go check out the shop. You want to meet up? And then from there, we just, he got me lunch. I had Indian food for the first time. Absolutely. Look, I got homesick eating it because I was like, it reminds me of Southern food where spice is just a spectrum and the flavors are just bold. And I was like, this is what I love. I love it. And we hit a couple more shops. There were a couple more I wanted to, but they were closed. I was like, damn. So he's like, well, what now? I was like, let's go to the park. And I just gave him some directions. He parked. We started at one town. I was showing him around this little area here. Oh, here's the other part. And then we started walking. That's where we hit those green canopies. And I was like, this is what it's all about. He stopped in one with me. He's like, it's like 10 degrees cooler in here. I'm like, right? And then as we're nearing the end, I know we're going to double back. I thought he would have gotten tired and doubled back before, but he didn't. He hung in there. So Ricky, hats off to you for this. But as we're walking, I was like, we're talking about this, and he's like, so is this where you get a lot of your inspiration for your D&D games? I was like, well, for overland travel, maybe. I said, and over here you might run into some goblins. I was like, kobolds, they're not going to be a thing. They're mostly in mines underground. You're not going to find a lot of that around here. And I said, which would make me the magic user, you the human fighter. I said, all we're missing is an elf, a dwarf, and a halfling. And right about the time I had heard something. It sounded like feet pounding the ground. So I just kind of looked back and I caught something out of my periphery and I was like, all right, I'm going to move in behind Ricky. I moved in behind Ricky and it kept getting closer. And I'm like, geez, this dude's taking short, really stomping steps. What's going on? And this dude passed me. And I swear to you, I am not lying. This is 100% legit. What I am about to describe to you is real. This dude stood about maybe shoulder height to me. I am not that tall. He had this colossal epic beard. He had like, you could tell it's like a mix of Norse and Celtic artwork, that knotwork, tats down both arms.
You met a fucking dwarf.
And he is just like, I mean, big shoulders, big chest, big gut too. I mean, he's short, big fucking powerful ass fucking thighs, these calves that just
yes!
He's got these like knee sleeves on, so I imagine he's probably got some knee problems, and he is just power walking past us, and I'm like, and I'm waiting until I know he's out of earshot. I'm like, Rick. He's what? I was like, look. He goes, what? I'm like, dude, it's our dwarf. All he needed was like a helmet, maybe some like light leather armor, and a double-headed axe. That's all he needed. This dude was the dwarf. I was like, you have got to be shitting me. I'm like freaking out because I'm like, there is no way in hell. And Ro got it right. Ro said a real life dwarf. Yes, that is it. It was a real life. I was like, I'm about to call him Thor and Fireforge and just invite him to join us. And it was so wild. I'm like, yo, holy shit. This is the craziest fucking thing I've ever seen.
The best part is he outstripped you. So you guys are standing there taking the slow walk, and he's just like, keep up, meddling.
Like there is no way any of us is going to toss him. That's not going to happen.
No.
I'm just sitting there like, holy fuck, this is real. And I'm like, okay, I know for a fact that Ricky had picked up some weed, but neither of us had any. So I'm like, this is real. Holy shit. And he's got to get to the next mine. They call them mines.
He only had a half-hour break.
What in the fuck? We get to like, we're thinking, okay, well, we're going to catch up to this guy at some point, right? No, he disappeared. I'm like, what in the shit? So we get to where it's going to curve off this way. I know where that curve leads, and it's basically to nowhere. So I'm going uphill, and we see street, and he goes, what's going on? I was like, this is where the big reveal is. Ready for this? He goes, yeah. We get up to the corner, and I pointed, and I said, we could basically walk to Barnes & Noble from here. He goes, where are we? I was like, well, you got the armory over here. You've got the shopping center just down the street here. I was like, we're in Cherry Hill. He goes, we parked in Haddonfield. I'm like, I know. He goes, how the hell are we going to get back? And I was like, we just take this road. We just take the sidewalk right here.
Wait a minute.
I said, just follow me. I know the way.
Wait a minute. You live in Haddonfield?
Okay, let me Like Rose saying, he's got a line on some rich whore.
No, I'm
Or
not
some damn
deeply
good
concerned.
ale.
It's like, do you barricade your house on Halloween?
No. Okay. Understand something. Okay, I'm about to blow your mind.
Okay.
Okay, there is a town very close to me called Voorhees, and if Yodano were here, he could verify everything I'm saying.
Jesus.
There is Crystal Lake Avenue. We had
Oh, fuck.
before they changed their name. We had a Crystal Lake Diner. I shit you not. There is a town called Haddonfield. That is where Deborah Hill is from. Hence why Haddonfield, Illinois was a thing. She picked that name in honor of her town.
Right.
And so, and we do have an Elm Avenue, not an Elm Street, an Elm Avenue. I live in Slasher Central, and nobody in this town acts like it.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
Yeah. So when Freddie says every town has an Elm Street, I don't think he's referring to this area because we have an Elm Avenue.
Right.
So Rose over there like, fuck yeah. Let me tell you, there are times where I'm like, get me out of here because it's not the slash. Look, if the slashers were the thing that I worried about most, that would be the least of my concerns right now. And I've given serious thought to like around Halloween getting like a blue boiler suit, a William Shatner mask, and like just stick a bunch of butcher knives in a sandwich sign that reads bring horror movies back from Japan, local 12 of the Slashers Union, and just kind of walk up and down Kings Highway in Haddonfield like that, protesting.
You have a work belt with a bunch of knives on it. You're carrying a clipboard. You've got a yellow construction hat on top of your mask.
No, I think that
you don't say anything because you're still a slasher, but you just like hand the clipboard at people so they can sign your petition to bring horror movies back. It has a little pen attached on a string so they can do it.
Change.org.
Right.
Just hand off a fucking QR code. Never speak.
Right.
It's getting close to that season anyway. Might as well.
Oh no, it's great. I love it anytime I see a meme where people are like, "Oh, it's fall," and then you have the response meme, which is just the dude on the motorcycle wearing the pumpkin helmet. Because we know what time of year it be.
Oh, it's great. It's some of the greatest shit ever. But like, oh yeah, do it. Picture it didn't happen.
Picture it didn't happen.
But yeah, that's what happened on Tuesday. That's why Havamal series and all that didn't happen. This Tuesday, I will probably be out again. So the reading's going to happen. But those two things, the shorts and stuff like that, I'm going to be putting that off again because again, I'm helping Ricky out. He just got married, and they need some signatures on some documents. They need someone to witness it, and they asked me, and I was like, yeah, I couldn't make it to the wedding, but yeah, I'll totally do that. That's fine. So I'm going to go and do that.
You show up to witness some documents in your best Halloween outfit.
Oh God, you don't want me doing that.
No.
But or dress up as a vampire and just roam the fucking streets, of Kings Highway for shits and giggles. I don't know.
I freely admit something I wanted to do that I never quite did. I wanted to build I wanted to get a bell, and I wanted to put together a plague doctor outfit because I can closely approximate one. Oh, and then I wanted to go through my streets on Halloween with a little red wagon with a skeleton in it that we've got, and go, bring out your dead, bring out your dead,
bring out your dead. No, you need a triangle. You need a triangle and a.
The sad problem is, and this is not a criticism of anyone's faith. This is just a statement. There are a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses in my neighborhood. So I don't think they get the joke.
Oh, no. They don't watch Monty Python. Oh.
Right. They don't watch Monty Python. They wouldn't understand that it's Halloween. I don't think they'd get it. Because I have a real nice neighborhood. It's real quiet here, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very sad because, like, the vast majority of people, when they do Halloween, they do what's basically called backseat Halloween, I think, or flatbed Halloween. It's you go to the local school, which is on the corner here, right? And
Yeah.
you do all of your trick or treating from people's tailgates. And it's tailgate trick or treating. So all the parents sit and they grumble and drink coffee while the kids run from car to car just grabbing candy. And I'm like, that's not trick or treating. Trick or treating is about getting to know your neighbors. Trick or treating, you go house to house, right? Because I'm an old man and I do the old school, and I don't think they would get it. There's because back in the day when I lived at the other house on Halloween, I would dress up. And I'd walk over here to my parents' house to be like, "Hey guys, how's your Halloween going?" And always my neighbors, except for the person right next to me who knew what was going on, would freak out. Because here I'd come out of nowhere, like, what the fuck is that? Because I have the actual scary costumes. I put together my costumes over the course of the year from small bits, right?
Yeah.
So you just imagine it's like, here's my house. We're real quiet. We're real friendly. We don't cause any trouble all year. And then Halloween, this revenant, this thing emerges from the shadows and is walking around your neighborhood, limping, going.
Oh wow.
Because that's the thing, I have a trunk or treat. I have a as you know, I have a disability, and the one time of the year it doesn't bother me, in a very broad sense, is Halloween, because I always look like the best zombie. I always look like the freakiest monster, because it don't look right, right?
Right.
That's why I used to joke that I'm the natural Nos, because if you and I were at a LARP and I was the Nosferatu, I'd be like,
oh man, yeah.
Ah.
So that's what's been going on the last couple weeks. For that's the little channel update there, and that's what I wanted to just kind of put out there. But yeah, we've
apparently Rofane is going to dress up as the devil, as they do every year. So is it really dressing up, or is it just taking off your human skin and airing out?
Oh god. I still remember this is back when I worked in the pharmacy. We actually had a pharmacy manager, and her and I are still friends, by the way. She took a promotion, and it's like when anyone leaves the business, everybody comes to you wanting to know what happened to that person. And I'm like, fuck, I don't, and you get tired of answering the same questions the same way every time. It's like, come on, y'all hear things, and boy, it gets blown out there, and now suddenly y'all don't know things. What's going on here? You're a little selective about your word spreading, I think. But no kidding. I kept getting asked what happened to her, and it's getting a little easier for me to pretend to be nice, but still a little difficult. I'm working hard at it. It's just 5 days a week, 8 hours a day or more. It gets to be a little weary at times. Constantly chewing on your tongue to keep from like lashing it out. But anyway, speaking of which, I got tired of answering the same old questions, and they asked me what happened to my boss, and I was like, well, she saw my true form and quit on the spot. They're like, what does that even mean? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Oh, that is how I used to get my folks in trouble. I've always been a troublemaker. My dad used to delight in making jokes about my disability when I was a kid, because when I was really, really young, they had my legs in casts to make sure that they didn't break or anything, right? Because I was premature. But I also talked real young, right? Yeah. And I understood things real young. So you have to imagine, there's my dad at a grocery store in San Jose, right? And he's just getting groceries. He's just minding his own business. And this little lady comes up, and it's like, oh no, what happened to the poor little baby? Because I'm sitting there in the cart with my legs in casts. And I look up at the little lady before my old man could stop me and goes, my daddy broke my legs and he liked it. and she's like,
horrified. Horrified.
Right. And then my dad was like, Joseph, don't say that. And I'm just like,
Gotcha, bitch.
Right.
I think this is a good place to close. We've been on for like 2.25 hours here,
Yeah, about
and
15 minutes over.
yeah, I still got a couple more things to do. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think getting out of here now is probably a good idea. And guys, thanks so much for showing up and chilling out with us. I had nothing at all planned. These past couple weeks have been kind of a roller coaster of not sitting around.
One of these days, we're getting back to 4 against the old ones.
Yeah, 4 against the great old.
Finish that shit.
I actually thought about that on Tuesday, and I was like, I've got to, I've got to get, I got to get that out. And I was thinking about it at work, and then I got home, and I was like, man, I'm not going anywhere near my computer. And I sat on the couch and started watching stuff. I was like, I'm going to watch something. I actually managed to catch John Wick Chapter 4 finally. Well, I mean, all I got to say about the John Wick movies is, okay, like in the first one, I get it because this Russian dude's bratty ass fucking kid did some shit to John, and now John's coming for him, and he circled the wagons and tried to protect his son. That much I get, but after a while, he kind of got it. There was a moment of logic in there where he's like, "Fuck, okay, I can't do anything to this dude." He's gonna get him anyway.
I mean, how many times somebody slapped that kid and say, "What
right?" And it's like, okay, well, obviously I didn't help matters, so yeah, I'll just go ahead and give him up. And then he kills John's friend, and that's when he really fucked up, because it's like, okay, there's no way you could protect yourself, and you could tell because right there at the end, he just starts getting stoned, and he's like fucking with his own people. And he's like, there's no way I'm gonna get this guy. There's no way. I gotta fight him, but there's no way I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get got. And so there's that moment of logic there. Second movie, Marker gets called in. The guy who has his car just finally lets him get away. So there's that moment of logic where it's like, okay, he killed everybody. And who he didn't kill, he injured beyond repair. I can't do anything about this guy. I'm just going to let him have what's left of his car and let him go. And then the guy calls in the Marker. John won't do it. He blows his house up. And I'm like, oh, you fucked up. You fucked up. Sends him on a mission to kill his sister. He manages to accomplish it. Now everyone's coming after him. And then he kills the guy in the Continental. Now the whole assassin world is after him. And by the end of this, but I want to say this movie ran really long. And I was like, okay, at what point do you say we have sent everything, including the kitchen sink and some other guy's kitchen sink, after him? And he just keeps gunning them down. Why are we doing this? Just let him go. It's all he wants. Let him go. Fuck.
Look. Anyone who ever like we're always trying to find movies. Anyone who wants to know what playing Vampire the Masquerade or Vampire the Requiem is, watch the John Wick movies.
Yeah.
And then understand that John Wick is on the red list.
Yep.
Okay? Anybody who kills him gets mad props.
Yep.
But you don't get on the red list and live without being hardcore.
Yeah. But I mean, as they establish his reputation well in the beginning of the first movie, we called him Baba Yaga. Oh, you call him the Boogeyman? No, he's the guy we sent to kill the fucking Boogeyman. I once saw him dispatch 5 guys in a bar with a pencil, a fucking pencil, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. There were a couple parts, I think, in part 3. Where I was like, yep, that's how you know this is a movie, because he is in New York City. People are getting stabbed left and right, and regular New York commuters are just stepping over the bodies and going along their way. I'm like, no, that wouldn't happen.
Because then you have the other element, which is the old euphemism, don't underestimate someone who lives to be old in a dangerous profession, right?
Yeah, or don't underestimate the old guy in a profession where men die young.
Right.
That's the adage.
It's like, is Keanu Reeves really old? Yeah, he's getting older. Has he lost a step? Maybe.
No.
Do you want to bank on the idea that he's lost a step? Because I'm not making that bet.
Yeah, that's fucking goofy.
Well,
Don't do
because
that.
then because the other end of that spectrum is of course if he hasn't even if he has lost a step, does that make him more dangerous or less dangerous?
Exactly. So it's like don't bank on that.
'Cause-
But anyway, I caught that, watched a few other movies, and just kind of relaxed. And let me tell you, the relaxation has done me so much good that I'm feeling a lot better these days. I'm like, dude, it's like now when I see one of those posts that would normally anger me, I'm gonna respond with something just fucking snide, something snarky. But hey, Josh is on. Hey, Josh, what's going on, man?
Yet again, coming in at the 11th hour just as
No,
we're getting out of here.
That's that was someone else. That's someone. That's Shadow and Son that have a chill read later. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, I no, not today, but I will be doing a reading on Tuesday. So, if Monday is just not good enough for you, sorry, that's just how my schedule worked out. Now I'm back to like Tuesdays and Saturdays again so far, but same to you, DB. But I just wanted to close out by saying, love you guys. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for all your likes, shares, subscriptions, and comments and all the like. It really does help us out. Just remember, love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Always play what lights you up. And as always, play on. Why do I keep doing